talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Welcome to the FightersRep video podcast. I'm your host, the FightersRep, and today we're going to be discussing why Deontay Wilder should step aside and why Tyson Fury should be fighting Anthony Joshua next. You know, Knuckleheads, yesterday I was motivated by a good friend of mine in Chad the Savage George to go ahead and go for a run. And, I know it sounds silly, but, all these things kind of run through my head as I'm running, pun intended. And one thing that really came to mind, of course, I'm always thinking about combat sports and boxing in my own show, was the fact that Tyson Fury is the kind of guy, man, that is just very, very difficult to beat. I would say Tyson Fury, if you're going to beat him on a contest of will, it's going to be impossible. It's going to be impossible. And if you're going to beat him in a contest of skill right now in the heavyweight division, it's also going to be very, very difficult. The only way, in my opinion, to beat Tyson Fury is you're going to have to do what Tyson Fury says to beat him, which is knock him down and nail him to the ring. Or, maybe that's code for completely knock him out. That's the only way, in my opinion, that any heavyweight is going to have a chance to beat Tyson the Gypsy King Fury. And the reason I believe that is because of what Tyson Fury has gone through, and you could almost argue it's what Tyson Fury has put himself through, right? Because here's the thing. Tyson Fury, before getting in the ring with Wilder for the first time, again, took himself to the worst place a human being can take themselves to, took himself to the brink of suicide, completely abused his body in every way imaginable, both with food and alcohol and drugs and the like, and was able to rescue himself from that. And that experience, that experience that he had, almost losing his life to himself, put him through enough, I think, to make him devastatingly strong. Incredibly, incredibly strong. Besides that, we've already heard the stories, and if you haven't, this will be your first time, of him trying to outlast Vladimir Klitschko in the sauna in order to gain mental points over him. This is the kind of guy that you're dealing with in Tyson Fury. That's the mentality that you're dealing with when you're talking about Tyson Fury. Another thing that we got to take a look at is the fact that this guy, he comes from this gypsy background where they settle their beefs, they settle whatever it is, their cultures. It's all about fighting. It's all about bare knuckle fighting. It's all about heart. It's about not giving up, because if you give up, if you lose a fight in that culture, it's essentially the worst thing, the most embarrassing thing that can happen to you. And that's just not something, your regular person is dealing with in life. I don't care how tough you are, how tough your neighborhood is. Yeah, it's embarrassing to lose a fight, but is it ingrained in the culture, to fight bare knuckle, to call people out and have this entire cultural, tradition where whenever you have a dispute with somebody, you're just going to fight it out bare knuckle. And not only that, he comes from a lineage of people that belong to this culture. So, as I was running, let me circle back. As I was running, and man, I was dying after the second or third lap. Hadn't run in a while. But as I was running around my neighborhood, second or third lap, I said to myself, man, I got to push. I got to push because the thoughts in my head now, they're going away from, the random thoughts I was thinking, boxing, the fight game, things like that. And they started going towards, oh shit, I got to try to at least try to get to 4 laps. I eventually did it. But it was in that moment when I had to make a choice, which is another thing my good friend Chad George says. If you don't know him, check out the Savage Hour podcast. He's a professional MMA fighter. Now he, runs a gym, first ever combat jiu-jitsu world champion, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, a successful Bellator guy. I could go on and on about him. But, he tells me you got to make a choice. And it was in that moment I said, man, fuck this. I gotta push. I gotta push through this. And and then that allowed my mind to kind of drift back off right into the fight game. And I said to myself, I started thinking about this whole Wilder, Fury, Joshua situation, because the heavyweight division is popping right now, man. If you don't love the heavyweight division right now, you're crazy. Boxing Bias Ego's in here. Just want to acknowledge, I see you in here, brother. I appreciate you joining. He says, it's funny how the LDBC chumps want to see Fury versus Wilder 3 and bash Canelo if he chooses to fight Triple G the third time. That is kind of weird, and that is kind of hypocritical. But look, I don't want to generalize the whole LDBC community. Like I said on my last video, everybody's opinion is welcome here. Obviously, that's a group of individuals in that community that feel disenfranchised from combat sports and boxing especially. And, if we can change their minds about, the sport and other fans like ourselves, maybe we can get through to them. But back to my point. So as I was making the choice and saying to myself, man, you can't give up. You got to keep running. You got to keep moving. You can't give up. Don't be a lazy ass, right? As I said that, my mind started drifting towards, what would these fighters do in this situation? It's just kind of the way I think. It may sound silly, but it's kind of the way I think. So I said to myself, what would these fighters think in this situation? And then I thought to myself, man, that Tyson Fury, man, he's a tough son of a bitch. And the reason I said that, was, besides the mental games he was playing with himself when he outlasted Klitschko in that sauna, besides going to Dusseldorf to beat Vladimir Klitschko when nobody gave him a chance, and sitting down at that face-off that, they do in the media in the UK where they got Johnny Nelson in the middle there, the gloves are off, it's called. Besides doing that, sitting across from Klitschko and showing absolutely zero hesitation, besides sitting side by side with David Haye and talking all that trash with him, and then, and besides all that, and performing and coming through and beating Klitschko in Dusseldorf, and then, the way he not only took the fight against Wilder after being out of the ring 2 or 3 years and nearly killing himself, but the way he performed in there, everybody knowing, I think, anybody with half a brain would have known that he wasn't nearly at his peak. But the way he performed in there, the way he took that fight in enemy territory, came out here, left his country, came out here to fight Deontay Wilder out here. And the way he got up from that punch, man, I said to myself, I can fight through this wanting to give up while I'm jogging. I can do it. But what if I was in a fist fight, right? Which is, a boxing match, essentially a fist fight with gloves on. What if I'm in this fight and I hit the guy who's been schooling me the whole fight. You know if you're winning a fight or losing. I hit the guy who's been schooling me the whole fight with the best shot that I could hit him with, the shot that's put everybody down. It connects flush in the 12th round. I follow it up with a left hook, which should, if the right didn't seal the deal, that left must have sealed the deal. And the dude pops up. The perfect storm came together for me to capitalize on and beat this guy. And right now I'm talking to you from, what I would imagine is Deontay Wilder's mindset. The perfect storm came together for me to beat this guy. He was 2 or 3 years out the ring, abusing his body, out of shape as he's ever going to be for a fight. Mentally, who knows where he was, in enemy territory. We're in the 12th round, and the perfect situation unfolded where I was finally able to land that perfect right hand on him, because he's slippery. Fury is slippery. You can't land that on him. Even the first knockdown in the fight, it was a temple shot, It was a temple shot. So, he's a slippery guy. You can't land this shot on him. So Fury, back to Wilder's mindset, he's probably thinking to himself, I land this perfect shot. It's the perfect storm. I finally land it. And the dude gets back up. And if you're Deontay Wilder and you're reflecting on that first fight, unless you're completely delirious, you've now got to be questioning whether this man can be stopped. And you've also got to take into consideration the fact that not only was I unable to stop him with my best punch, followed by another big punch in the 12th round when he was in the worst shape of his life for a boxing match, most likely, but he was also beating me in the boxing aspect of the match for the entirety of the match. So, if I'm Deontay Wilder pulling away from that fight and I'm analyzing my own performance, I'm saying to myself, man, I came away with that draw. I came away lucky because, first off, the guy was schooling me the whole fight. Second off, there were very few instances where I was able to land something clean. Even the first knockdown, again, I felt like it was a temple shot, but that second shot was the only time I really landed something flush, hard enough to knock anybody in the world out, but this guy didn't stay down. It's almost like, as ridiculous as it sounds, if you're a wrestler, a professional wrestler, and you're Hulk Hogan, and you're a fan watching Hulk Hogan, let's say, from the outside looking in. He lands that leg drop on the Ultimate Warrior, and the Warrior doesn't lose. He doesn't lose. He gets up. It's almost like one of those moments, right, where I've landed this finishing move on you. I've landed it time and time again. It didn't work this time. What do I do? And that was the Deontay Wilder that we saw, I believe, in the rematch, right? And not only that, let's also take into account that when Fury got up from that 12th round knockdown, he put it on Wilder. He was coming at him. He put it on him. And, that also had to be running through Wilder's head. How do I stop this guy? I got to kill this guy. You got to kill this guy to beat him. Some guys just cannot be knocked out. And maybe Fury is one of those guys. Maybe he's just one of those guys that cannot be knocked out by another heavyweight at this time. Maybe he just can't. Some people are more durable than others. Some people take a shot better than others. That's just the way it is. So I think the Wilder we saw in that second fight, obviously, as far as boxing IQ and boxing skills go, inferior to Tyson Fury. So he knew he couldn't win there. He knew he had to land that big punch. And he knew that big punch might still not be enough. He says he has to be perfect for a couple seconds. His opponents have to be perfect for, 12 rounds. Fury wasn't perfect for 12 rounds. Fury was only really good for 7. He was only really good for 7. And that's something that Deontay Wilder mentally wasn't ready for. And I believe in that first fight, the only positive thing that Wilder had to hang his hat on were those people around him probably telling him that it was a close fight, and the judge's decision giving him a draw, right? And I think that he knows that he didn't deserve that draw, and I think that he knows that if he got a draw despite 2 knockdowns, that he was probably in pretty bad shape, especially considering it was his own country. So he takes that into the second fight. He gets absolutely wiped out. Tyson Fury wipes the floor with him in that second fight. And all we've heard since then is excuses, man. The guy just refuses to, face the facts. Face the fact that he lost. Whether it's his costume weighing too much, whether his bicep was torn, whether a lot of things were going on outside the ring. You've got now people telling him, or you had people telling him that he didn't look himself. He looked, I heard Caleb Plant said he looked overtrained. Whatever it was, for the fight of your life against a guy who should have gotten the nod in the first fight, you got squashed in the second fight. With all due respect, because I say with all due respect because I really respect Wilder as a fighter, but as far as and I liked his personality before this whole Tyson Fury series, because confident guy, puts on a show, gets the knockout. What's there not to like? I don't like when he talks too much because I don't think he's a good talker. I don't think he's articulate, but at least he was exciting with the knockouts and stuff. But when he talks, he just sounds dumb. To me, he just sounds dumb. He can't string a sentence together. He a lot of times he doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, Fury, super charismatic, intelligent, whatever, goes in there, smashes him, and now Wilder wants a third fight. Maybe I'm missing something. What's the point of the third fight, and why not just let Anthony Joshua get a crack at Tyson Fury while you go back to the drawing board, Deontay Wilder, and work on your skills? Work on whatever it is you need to work on, make the adjustments you need to make in order to beat this guy. Hell, maybe you give, Anthony Joshua the opportunity. Maybe he beats Fury. And now you've got Joshua in front of you. It's a better fight for you. I think Joshua is a better fight for Wilder. Right? Because Joshua's been stopped before. Fury hasn't. We know Joshua can be stopped. Fury, no, he's never been stopped. And then, the other thing is Joshua, not as long as Fury, doesn't have the experience with Wilder. Wilder could land that shot on Joshua and get him out of there. So if I'm Wilder, just from, a career standpoint, maybe I take a fight in the interim against a solid name, right? And there's a lot of solid heavyweights out there now. Take a fight in the interim against a solid name, maybe a tall guy, somebody, about the size of Joshua or Fury. Let Joshua and Fury hash it out. You know what I mean? Build yourself. Work on yourself. Improve yourself, right? Work on your jab. Work on setting up that right hand. Work on being more active, maybe. Work on body punching. Do whatever you got to do to address the dangers of Fury and Joshua, because you're 34, 35 years old right now, Wilder. And, you don't have a lot left. What are you going to fight till you're 40? Maybe. But, I would imagine if Wilder loses again, at the level he's at, if he loses again the way he lost, it's probably the end of the line for him. So what I would do, if I'm Deontay Wilder and I'm his advisor, I'm his management, I tell him, take on a solid, large heavyweight. You know what I mean? Take on a solid, large heavyweight. Get that experience in. Work on your craft. Like the inimitable Andre Ward told, I believe he told Anthony Yard, work on your craft. Don't worry about, or I think he said to Anthony Joshua, don't worry about being so jacked or whatever it was. And it sounded like, and it looked like Anthony Joshua took heed to that advice. And we saw him in his rematch against Andy Ruiz a lot slimmer and a lot more of a boxer, right? Because it is boxing at the end of the day. So, Wilder needs to really look in the mirror, right? And be honest with himself. If you want to make money in the sport, because you're a prize fighter, step aside. Take another fight. Because either way, you're still going to have that Fury fight, or you're still going to have that Joshua fight on the horizon, depending on which one you want to take. Maybe you want to take both. But earn a little extra cash in the interim. And while you do that, develop yourself as a fighter. Before I continue, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Fighters Rep video podcast. Hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon right here. And join Knucklehead Nation. Also, anything you donate to the Super Chat or any items you buy in the link below in our merchandise link. If you buy a Fighters Rep shirt, we've got hoodies. We've got hoodies. We've got a couple other things, tank tops, whatever. Anything you guys buy gets reinvested right back into Fighters Rep Promotions, the only pro kickboxing promotion in the state of California, where we're building what I believe is the best promotion on the planet, the most exciting promotion on the planet. So, back to my point, back to what we're talking about here. Not important checked in, said, seen the title, thought I'd tap in to say hi. Appreciate you coming in here, not important. Says, based on the title alone, you suck. Well, not important, that's fine, man. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I hope you stick around. Give me your opinion. That's what this is at the end of the day. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not going to take offense to people that don't agree with me. You know what I mean? These are just my thoughts. These are just my thoughts. I think Wilder, again, should step aside, improve on his craft, get better. Take a fight in the interim. Take on a big guy that's about Anthony Joshua's size or Tyson Fury's size, and let Joshua and Fury hash it out. Because look at the payday at the end of it, right? Look at the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? If he lets Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight each other, the winner of that fight becomes the real unified heavyweight champion of the world. 4 belts are now on the line, or 5, or whatever it is, plus the lineal champion status would be on the line in that fight. Obviously, the winner would take all, and then Wilder can just take on the winner of that, but he has to improve his craft. How's he going to beat a guy like Tyson Fury? He's just, right now, he's not going to be able to do it. He's got to work on his craft. Maybe Tyson Fury gets into a war and loses a little something against Anthony Joshua. It gives him an opportunity to capitalize on that. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying here. Not important says, I'll tell you. Not taking offense makes me follow you. Thanks, I'm listening. Well, much appreciated. I tell, not important, I tell everybody that comes here, and I'd much appreciate if you subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. I tell everybody that comes here, your opinions are welcome. We're all for the First Amendment. You know what I mean? Let people say what they want to say. It's no big deal. We're adults. We can talk about stuff. Yesterday I did an appeal video to the LDBC telling them, come on the channel. Come on the channel. I have no problem with your opinions. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. And And I said it yesterday, and I stand by what I said. The LDBC exists because those fans, a lot of those African American fans, feel like they've been disenfranchised. And they have the right to feel that way. They have the right to feel that way, 100%. You know, I say that as a minority myself, 100%. You have the right to feel that way because boxing and sports has been littered with, prejudice and racism and all kinds of things. But, it's 2020 now. It's time to sit with each other and enjoy the fights, and that's what it's about. And, by subscribing again and joining Knucklehead Nation, you're helping us build FightersRep Promotions. That's the backbone of the channel. We are the only unified rules kickboxing promotion in the entire state of California, sanctioned by CSAC and the IKF. We do Pro-Am cards. We're building some of the finest young talent in the world, including Anderson Silva's son, kids out of King's MMA, kids out of Systems Training Center, kids out of CMMA, kids from Russia, kids from, East LA, kids from wherever, wherever you can think of. And it's all love. You help this channel, you're helping those kids live out their dreams, and you can watch the fights that you helped create by joining and donating or whatever to this channel. You can watch those fights for free right here on this channel. We air the fights free. And we recently did FightersRep 9, which was a sellout, an absolutely incredible event, if I do say so myself. We sold out. We were turning people away at the door. We had over 24,000 views on the live stream right here on YouTube. And then we uploaded the fights individually. So, that's the kind of thing we're doing here. We don't care what you look like. We don't care where you're from. Me and my staff, we're from all over the place. We don't care about that stuff. We just care about the fight game, giving these young men and women an opportunity, and giving people like yourselves, somewhere to discuss the fight game without getting booted out of the chat because somebody disagrees with you. I mean, that's so lame and childish, right? So lame and childish. The only way anybody will ever get booted out of the chat is if they're spamming. I had somebody spamming, or if I think somebody's trolling or something like that, we'll boot them out. But other than that, everybody's more than welcome. But, back to the issue at hand. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me what you guys think. There are a few of you watching right now. Shouldn't Deontay Wilder, instead of rushing back into this third fight, which it seems to me like an emotional decision. Shouldn't he instead, as any other fighter would do, as any other martial artist would do, as any other boxer would do, whatever, wrestler, jiu-jitsu practitioner, I think, shouldn't he go back and work on his craft and try to shore up the holes a little bit? Let these guys fight for the unified title and come back better, and perhaps, give himself a better chance to win that fight instead of just rushing it. I mean, I feel like just rushing right back into a fight that you just lost by TKO in the 7th round is a bit of an emotional decision, right? And I understand it's the fight game. Passions are high. Passions are cranked up. Wilder's already a passionate guy as it is. Fury and Wilder are very passionate guys. They're very charismatic. They're both that way. They're both high energy kind of guys. And probably would jump at an opportunity to take a fight. But I feel like Wilder needs to be more calculating. And that's why I don't like the idea of him jumping back in there against Tyson Fury right away. Not important. Says, if Fury would have lost, would you want Tyson to step aside for Wilder? AJ, did you support Wilder Ruiz? Possible undisputed. Okay, let me see here. So if Fury would have lost, would you want Tyson to step aside for Wilder? Yes. Yes. Yes, because as much as I like these guys individually, I think what takes precedence is the sport itself, right? The sport and the fans that keep the sport alive. And I'm telling you this from the perspective of a promoter, because boxing is in the shape that it's in right now compared to MMA, because promoters have consistently sold fight fans wolf tickets. They've consistently cheated fight fans out of the best fights, boxing fans in particular. So for me, if Fury would have lost, if he would have lost convincingly, if he would have lost the way Wilder lost, I would say, yeah, step aside. Fury needs to go, work on some things. But the opposite happened, right? And I actually felt like Fury, listen, I'm an American fight fan. I'm going to go with the American fighter. I'm just going to do it. But I felt like Fury, if I'm speaking objectively, because it's important not to be corrupt. It's important to say it how you see it, right? Because the problems that we have in life are people faking it and not saying it how we see it, right? That's where all this corruption and BS and prejudice and everything else comes from. So, speaking objectively, I felt like Fury won that first fight. Even so, if Fury would have gotten knocked out in the 7th round, beat up the way Wilder did, I would say, Fury, step aside, work on some stuff, maybe fight somebody in the interim. Let Wilder and AJ handle this. Let Wilder and AJ handle this. Let them unify. Why would you not want that? Why would you not want? Every fight fan wants to see the best fight the best. And especially hardcore fight fans like me and you, I'm imagining you're a hardcore fight fan to even be talking about this. You wouldn't even be at this channel if you didn't care about this stuff. But, wouldn't you want the best fights to happen? What hardcore fight fan wouldn't want a unified heavyweight champion? And again, no disrespect to Wilder. It's not about Wilder, Fury, whatever. It's about facts. There was a draw in the first fight, and to me, it looked like one of the guys won. The guy who looked like he won, really capitalized and showed that he was the better fighter in the second fight. He confirmed it. So, the other fighter, I don't see the point in going into a third fight if, the improvements that Fury made between the first and second fight are just so much bigger than the ones Wilder made. And he's got this skill set, and he's got this chin, and now he's got this, style for Wilder. I see it as a handful, and I do think that Wilder, just like anybody else, man, there's nothing special about this situation. Needs to go back and work on some things, needs to go work on some things. Tighten up his defense. Tighten up his stance. Maybe being more active. Maybe finding a way to land that shot. Maybe landing to the body instead. And while he's doing that, let Fury go and put some more miles on the odometer. Let him go fight Joshua. The prize is bigger at the end of it, It says, did you support Wilder Ruiz, possible undisputed? I would have liked to see that fight. I didn't think the way Ruiz beat Joshua, I understand why Joshua got the immediate rematch. Besides it being a contractual obligation. I understand because Joshua was so dominant and was, and just looks the part too, man. Looks the part. Aesthetics matter in this sport, So dominant, looks the part, and it just looked like it could have been a fluke with the way Andy Ruiz looks too. and they wanted to run it back. Had Ruiz win and fought Wilder instead, I would have had no problem with that, because I felt like Ruiz dominated Joshua in that first fight. Just, not dominated, but, it was a convincing, knocked him out in the 7th round. That's a clear, convincing win. I thought, a couple of the rounds could have gone either way, whatever, but Ruiz obviously clearly won that fight and showed that he's not to be messed with on the inside. You can't fight him on the inside. And I felt like Joshua made that mistake, fighting him on the inside, trying to get him out of there when he got him hurt, and he got clipped. And I think, he just wanted to set things right. He probably felt, hey, I got clipped, he got lucky, I want to run this back, and what happened, happened. But, it all depends on the circumstances, right? Because when Ruiz beat Joshua, it was their first fight. When he beat him by knockout, it was their first fight. It wasn't their second fight. It's not like this situation, right, where we had Fury and Wilder fight the first time. It looked like Fury won. He's given a draw, after 3 years out of the ring, abusing his body, doing all kinds of drugs. You knew he was going to come back better. You knew he was going to be better, physically, mentally, everything. And he came back and he was better, and he was far better than Deontay Wilder. And I don't see Wilder having the potential to improve between now and a third fight if they do it. I feel like a better path for him, again, would be to take on someone in the interim. Not important says AJ was knocked out in 4, came back and fought a different fight. Why can't Wilder? Well, again, that's the thing, though. We didn't know enough about AJ versus Ruiz in that first fight. We didn't see enough. With Wilder and Fury, I saw enough. Again, this is just my opinion. I saw enough in the first fight for me to say, okay, Wilder is not going to be able to box this guy. He's got to knock this guy out. And then when he dropped him in the 12th round, with the cleanest punch he could land, he couldn't finish him. And so, I'm saying to myself now, if he can't finish him landing the best shot, I mean, Fury took Wilder's best shot. Fury took his equalizer. Fury took Wilder's signature move. And on top of it, it was coupled with a left hook on the way down. Let's not forget that. It was in the 12th round as well. And he was in nowhere near the physical or mental condition he's in right now. I think. Nowhere near. And he still got up from that shot. So I just don't see it, man. I don't see how Deontay Wilder has any chance at all to beat Tyson Fury, other than a lucky, basically a lucky punch. I mean, he's got to land a perfect punch, and even then, it's got to put Fury out, a guy who's never been knocked out in his life, right? A guy who's never been knocked out in his life. He's got to land that perfect shot and knock him out. And it's just, I just don't think he has the skills to land that on Fury again. Even if he does, it's not going to land clean. Even if it does land clean, it's probably not going to knock Fury out. That's his only chance of winning the fight. And I think he improves his chances by going back, by studying film, by improving his technique, by finding different, maybe tricky ways to land that punch, by maybe setting it up by throwing to the body, by trying different things, by fighting another opponent as big or bigger than him, the way Fury was. This is how you improve as a fighter. You don't just, I got knocked out, I'm walking right back in there. Especially when there's so much on the line. And, if Wilder loses, if Wilder takes this immediate rematch with Fury, right? He takes the third fight and loses and gets knocked out. Is it the end of Wilder's career? It could be. That could be the end of it. All I'm saying is take a fight in the interim, make some more money for yourself and your family, build yourself, and come back and give yourself the best opportunity possible. And the reward is bigger. The reward is bigger because the winner of Fury versus AJ, again, becomes unified everything. If you haven't already, hit the like button, guys. I'd really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe and bell notification icon. And again, anything you guys donate to the channel, anything you guys buy in the links below, get reinvested right back into Fighters Rep promotion. Feel free, once this is done, to go back through the channel. Watch the fights for free. Amazing fights. It's the best rule set in the world. It's the IKF, which is the International Kickboxing Federation's unified rule set, which were just updated, courtesy of Steve Folsom and Dan Bam Bam Stell, owners of the IKF, founders. And it's the most action-packed rule set in the world. It's stand and bang. You can't clinch. You gotta stand and fight it out. There's no clinch. It's like boxing with kicks and knees. And it's the most amazing action-packed rule set you're ever going to see in your life, especially because it's down here in Southern California where, if you don't know about California, I mean, we got the best fighters right now in the world. We've got a fight gym, an elite fight gym, in every city here and multiple ones in some cities. So that's what it's about. So let me see here what not important says. Oh, okay, yeah, we already answered that. I answered that question to the best of my ability. Not important. I hope you appreciate that. Boxing bias, ego. I did comment on your comment as well about Canelo if he chooses to fight Triple G. Canelo fighting Triple G is a big money fight. I would rather see Canelo fight, Callum Smith or Caleb Plant or somebody like that. But does Triple G deserve like that big payday in that final fight? I mean, why not? A lot of people thought Triple G won both fights. I thought Triple G won the first Canelo fight. I thought the second one was really close. I would say maybe Canelo just eked it out. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Triple G getting the third fight. But it's time to let the new blood in. It's time to let the new blood in. Fight Triple G, then fight Saunders, fight Caleb Plant, fight Callum Smith. He's another one. Canelo's another one. Fight Demetrius Andrade. He's another one, Canelo is, that is, has chosen the path, in my opinion, of conquering different weight classes as opposed to cleaning out his weight class. And by doing that, you are sort of being disingenuous. By going up to fight Kovalev, the weakest guy in the light heavyweight division among the title holders, because he certainly, I don't think he would fight Beterbiev, right? So, by going up there and picking Kovalev, choosing Kovalev, it left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm a fight fan. I want to see the best fight the best. And you beating the weakest guy at a higher division just so you can say you want a title at that division, that doesn't impress me. Nowhere near as much as cleaning out the dangerous guys in your own division that deserve the fight. In fact, not only does it not impress me, it turns me off. It disgusts me because, let's face it, by fighting Kovalev, all Canelo was doing was, sort of selling us, almost like he's selling us a false accomplishment, right? Hey, look at me. I'm now a 5-weight. I'm now a 5-division champion. When in fact, he hasn't even cleaned out his own division. Or the one just above it. So I just, for me, it doesn't equate being great, winning multiple division titles if you haven't beaten the best guys in your own division. And you're trying to fool me and I'm not being fooled, and I feel like it insults my intelligence, and I feel like all the fans that know anything about boxing and know anything about the situation, they're going to feel the same way that I do. And that's why, and that's why he's going to have a lot of detractors. And that's just the way it is. I mean, if he was fighting the Callum Smiths and the Caleb Plants and, whoever else, and the Billy Joe Saunderses, yeah, he could fight a Triple G after that, and people would be okay with it because he would have cleaned the place out, But the way he's doing it, no, I can't get on board with it. I would be a hypocrite if I got on board with it. But anyway, knuckleheads, that's everything, man. I'm not feeling the whole Wilder jumping into that third fight. I think he should take his time. He's got time. He can make more money for himself and his family by taking a fight in the interim. He can improve himself. He can improve his chances of winning that third fight against Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua, who, when he does decide to take that fight, if he does, do as I'm saying and take a fight in the interim, if he does decide to take that fight, there'll be a much greater reward. There'll be a much greater reward if he fights them later on, because obviously if he allows Fury to, again, fight Joshua, the winner of that is the real unified heavyweight champion of the world. But anyway, knuckleheads, that's all I've got for you guys. I appreciate your time. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Join Knucklehead Nation. Let me know what you think, and we'll be in touch soon. We'll probably be putting up a video tomorrow or an interview, and if not, we'll stick to our usual base schedule, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, where we talk about combat sports and we air fights and do interviews. So until next time, knuckleheads, keep it clean. I'm out of here.